Welcome to the channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Join me on today's video where I will be reviewing the Rectangular Monster Homage. Now, I have reviewed this watch on my channel a couple of months ago. Very impressed with the overall design. It actually did grow on me because initially when I saw it I thought it was a bit hideous, but you know, I still bought it in the channel to review. However, since then it has grown on me quite a bit, and there was a criticism that I had of the watch, which was the bezel. It was quite poor, but since then now they have come out with this PVD yellow version, and I did briefly show this on an AliExpress sale video. So now let's get down to the review. Let's have a look at this in a lot more detail, and let's see what this Rectangular is all about. So let's start off with the usual. Let's check the dimensions, let's go through the specifications, and then we can focus on the watch in hand. So dimensions, we are looking at, so the case diameter is about 42.7 millimeters, around 42.5. You have a 13.5 mil thick case, and the log to log is just under 48 millimeters. So perfectly reasonable dimensions. Very similar to the genuine Seiko. I'm wearing my Gen 2 just for the sake of the video. Specifications, you do have a PVD coated 316L stainless steel case. The case back is in silver, and you do have a PVD coated crown. You do have a flat sapphire crystal with minimal AR coating, which is just perfect. And the watch runs a Seiko Epson NH36 movement, which by now we know the details about the movement. It is a very reliable movement, so you'll have no issues with that. You also have a 60 click unidirectional diving bezel, and the watch comes on this incredible and very vibrant yellow strap, and the water resistance is 150 meters as stated on the dial and the case back. Now the price is around 130 to 140. It does vary quite a bit on AliExpress, so I'll link the cheapest store. Now what I really do like is the overall design. As mentioned, it has grown on me quite a bit, and I've learned to appreciate it, and it seems that, you know, they did the right thing. They made a homage to a very classical Seiko, but you know, they really got creative with it. They made it slightly different. So the dial has this amazing sunburst fume style dial, but the sunburst part on all the color options is very vibrant. It's quite bright. I really do like how they've done that sunburst, and I'd even say that it would look good in a solid yellow as well. But you know, not to take anything away from this design, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. The light reacts really well with this dial. And then you've got white text, the Rectangular logo just below the 12, and above the 6 you've got automatic, water, 150 meters proof, 150 being in red, which does tie in really nicely with that red seconds hand. Around the dial you've got the chapter ring with the silver markers, which fits around the hour markers quite well. And then you've got these shark teeth markers that go around the dial, and you've got this black polished outline around there. The application of the hour markers and the detail present on the dial is absolutely immaculate. It does really stand out, and it looks fantastic. You even have a white date frame around the date cutout, which again finishes off the dial really well. And then you've got these matte black Seiko Monster style hands, which again really nicely done, and it does suit the watch. Now on the seconds hand, on the counterweight, you'll see this little Pikachu tail, as I call it. You'll see a little flash on the back, which is a nice touch. These are not generic hands, and I always like to see brands making their own parts, making it specific to the watch. I really do appreciate that, so I'll give them full credit when they do small little features like this. Moving around the bezel, you'll see this really bright yellow filled markers around the bezel, and I think that's been done to a superb level. Ample amount of paint in there, and the nicest thing about this watch is just have a look at that pip. Subset feels really nice and flush, just sticks out slightly. I think that looks fantastic on this piece. I really like that they've done that, and you can just see some very faint circular brushing on the PVD coated bezel. It does slope inwards. Very striking bezel indeed. And you know, out of the color combinations with the PVD, I fell in love with this one. I think this looks the best, but that of course is my personal opinion. And looking at the construction of the bezel, you know, they've got this sawtooth style design, and it really does suit the watch now, and it's been finished really well. Even though they look like sharp teeth, they're actually not sharp. And what you could see in the stainless steel, that this is polished, but you can see in the PVD where you do have a different style of finishing, and you can see it is polished still around the edges. Now this theme does also go around to the crown, and you can see the logo on the crown, and you can see this machining present on the crown, which specific for the watch. I really like that train of thought that Rectangular followed while making this homage. I'll screw that out. Good functionality, and just look at the attention to detail again. Even the crown tube is black. Day and date change, hacks, and everything works as it should. Really nice crown action. Now moving on to the loom, it is BGW9 on the pip, and of course the hour markers and the hands. And I'd say while it's a decent level of brightness, I'd say they do have quite a bit of room for improvement. As you can see around the hour markers, it does look slightly faded. There's a bit of patchiness, but it's a lot brighter on the pip and the hands. Now I'll give this a bit of a boost with the UV lamp just to see how good it can look. So that is now a lot brighter, but bear in mind the hour markers are quite flat, so that's why the loom isn't as strong as it could be, but it's decent. It's not a deal breaker, I won't say. It is still visible and present. Now let's go around the case, let's have a look, and you can see brushed surface clearly at the bottom side of the case, and the insides of these teeth are polished, and you can see the same on the insides of this and the insides of the bezel. Go across, you can see some circular brushing present around the half shroud of the Monster style case, and also the facets on the lugs. Again, really well done, no sharp edges, and great, incredible detail present, and really good finishing. Drill lugs, always preferred, very, very practical. So the finishing on the case is done to a high level. You can clearly see that in hand, and you can clearly feel it. There's no sharp edges, considering that it does have teeth present on the bezel. Let's turn this around and let's peel this off. Let's turn this around, and this case back, I really, really like it. It's probably one of my most favorite case backs because you've got the text around there with the specifications, and you've got Monster printed there. But not only that, they've gone for that Seiko-esque wave pattern, but they've transformed it into a Monster. Now, hopefully you can clearly make that out. That is Godzilla, and that's why I love this watch. And this is why this watch grew on me, because I love how they've stuck to the theme of the Monster. Every aspect of the watch, they have really paid attention to that brief in the Which Watch Shall We homage room, and going from the dial to, as you can see on the bezel, the crown, and even the keep on the bezel, you can see these claw marks, and I love how they have stuck to that brief and they've kept that theme going throughout the watch, which there's a great deal of thought gone into it, because you don't see that from other homage brands. You know, you'll have a bit of signage here, there, but you know, we'll see with the brands and signs, there's not really much thought gone into there, but this is why this homage here does stand out. Let's check the bezel out. So there's no playback in the bezel, there's no movement, it's very solid. It doesn't seem to line up exactly on center, it's just to the left, but yeah, it's still not exactly how I like it. It's a lot better than the stainless steel one that was way looser. This one actually has a bit more resistance present. You still get a bit of a hollow sound coming out, and it doesn't feel so precise as it does glide over some of the clicks. Some of the clicks you can hear more than others. So while the bezel rotation isn't ideal, it still is a lot better than the stainless steel version. Is it a deal breaker? No, definitely not a deal breaker, but it still does leave slightly more to be desired in way of refinement on the actual bezel. Now let's check out the strap, and you can see this wave style strap, but it is very flexible, really supple rubber, and you can see this perforation here with the holes in the strap to give you some ventilation. All PVD hardware. Let's follow it down, and you can see the holes here as well flip it over and you got some really decent texturing, which should help when it goes on wrist, and the texturing present. So I love, again, going back to how they've kept to the theme. You know, they have not used generic parts, they've not used generic straps, they've had everything made from scratch. So they've put a lot of effort on this watch, and which is what you can see. And it is a bit of a shame that the bezel rotation does kind of let them down, but again, not a deal breaker. And with a watch that looks this good, I think the bezel rotation will be probably the last thing on your mind. I think it looks absolutely incredible. Let's put this watch on wrist, and I'll give you some nice outdoor wrist shots as well. So I've got a 6.5 inch wrist, and you can see the strap has plenty of room for bigger wrists. You see it fits really well, dimensions are great on the watch, the aesthetics are stunning. Really good summer watch. It'll definitely pop when you got it on the wrist. Really out there, definitely a talking piece as well. And it fits really well on the wrist, and you can see in the sunlight it looks even more incredible. The dial does really catch the light. I love how the light plays on the dial, and the black yellow combination, I think it's a winner for most people. I do like the way the red on the second hand matches the red on the dial, and just overall the watch is really well built. They've kept to the theme of the monster. They've done a few very original things, considering they are a homage brand from AliExpress, and you know, the general look of the watch is good. So that's my thoughts on the watch. If you do want to purchase it, as mentioned, I'll leave the link within the description. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.